Hello there, I'm Squire Callahan Ridgeborn, almost a battle master, definitely a wizard, and tonight I'm joined by Nameless Soulweaver, a Paragon Anti-Paladin, to talk about Anti-Paladin things. Nameless, thank you
I
for
love
being on the show.
anti-paladin. Hey, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Awesome.
I for one, I for one love AP, so I'm very excited to talk about this.
Cool. How long have you been playing Amtgard in general?
So I started Amtgard in October of 2019.
Okay.
So, so 2015. So I guess that would be we're going on 5.5 years. So 6 years in October. It's been fun. I've enjoyed it for sure.
So you started right before the big COVID break started happening, really.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I remember like when I first started playing, I was so excited to play like barbarian and like
Hmm.
just be goofy and have fun. And then as I started acquiring like armor and such, we shut down. So I didn't get the chance
Oh,
to use
no.
any of my armor I just bought. I just invested in
Mhm.
some like great weapons and stuff that I didn't get to use. And then when we came back from COVID, I was real excited to get back into the game.
Awesome. So was Barbarian the class you leveled previous to Anti-Paladin?
Yeah, yep. Barbarian was my first level 6 class, and then I think during COVID is when Anti-Paladin became unlocked to everybody.
Hmm.
If you had a level 6 in a class. So I started playing AP about 6 months after returning, maybe mid 2020, whenever we came, about 6 months after we started playing again, really. I can't
Okay,
really remember when that was.
cool. Can you tell me a little bit about your Paragon journey? What did that look like for you?
Honest to goodness, it was kind of crazy seeing how many changes Anti-Paladin went through in the time we came back from COVID to even like current Anti-Paladin. I played it when it was bad.
Hmm.
We had 4 points of armor, like an undead minion, which didn't seem to work out very well unless you just had someone specifically to put it on. And then we had Awes, and then just your immune to command, immune to flame, and then your normal brutal strikes, poisons, and things like that. So I was playing it for the originally I was playing it just for like the shtick of like the anti-paladin thing, and then they came out with the update to it, which granted you got rid of undead minion, and we got the terrors and the flame blades,
Hmm.
and that played more into my actual like style of fighting.
Okay.
And I really tried to break through and show like my own prevalence with the class. It was the first keep I went to. Um, I tried. I was really working on what they call the hole breaker. So it's where you take and you get right up to a line, and then you throw on your flame blade, and you just go nuts. I
Okay.
use a on average I use like a 8 foot spear or something, like a speed pole almost, and I just if there's anybody in sight, they're getting hit until I get stopped. Really.
Okay.
Um,
Just
and that
rapid fire pulling.
I just did that same style of play for maybe a couple years, I'd say, and then every now and then I would switch up and just do like a flow anti-paladin, just kind of skirmish around, disrupt lines and stuff.
Hmm.
But I think my true path was taking the pole and the flame blade and just rocking with it.
Awesome. So, would you say you're a very frontline fighter, or do you consider yourself a different position on the field?
Yeah, I'm very, very frontline. Very heavy aggression. Um, I like to swing. Um, I think something else that helps, me with the current anti-paladin is I'm also pretty good at casting. So I'm able to use terrors to an extent that others may not be able to, and things like
Mhm.
that.
Cool. So what is the minimum gear requirement to successfully play anti-paladin?
Honest to goodness, the minimum gear you could probably use, I would say, if you really want to play the class. I mean, you can meme it and just not wear armor and go out and be like, oh, I'm playing flow. But if you really want to experience the class, I would say a minimum of 2 points. So like a Gambison or something.
Yeah.
Take a sword and board, take a flow, take a pole, just to try to get a feel for how you want to play it. Especially with the new archetypes. If you really want to lean into that more sword and board, you'll want to play Corruptor. If you want to lean more into the great sword or the pole arm, you'll want to go more infernal. Or if you just want to be able to like mix it up while you're playing, just go with standard AP.
Okay. Um, so Anti-Paladin and Paladin both got unlocked around like right as we were coming out of COVID. Um, One of the things that I've noticed is that it can be difficult to look the part for the martial classes. How can someone really look the part and garb above just the baseline person wearing armor for Anti-Paladin specifically?
So I kind of min-maxed my armor, I'll be honest. So I just used like a steel riveted chainmail, but I made sure it was blackened.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of what you could do, especially with the new armor rules, if you can get like a nice synthetic set, you could maybe like blacken, like get some black armor or something, and kind of maybe do some form of like dark mystical style like detail on it,
Okay.
like maybe some flames, or if like you wanted to do some kind of purple to like represent like some kind of ether or something. And then if you really wanted to like, go all out, you could like maybe like paint your face white and then kind of like black around your eyes or like purple around your eyes and stuff to kind of
Ooh,
give you
okay.
that almost that almost like spiritual look, I guess.
Okay.
Like you're or undead, maybe undead look almost, yeah,
I
if
was
that makes
thinking kind of
sense.
like a raccoon, but
Yeah.
that might
Yeah.
not be what you had in mind.
I mean, it's perfect, honestly. And then like, like if you had like a helmet, you
Hmm.
could have your helmet on and then your eyes would be just black in behind it. So like
Yeah, it'd be kind of neat.
that's if you really wanted to go all out.
Okay. Is there any gear that Anti-Paladin has access to that is just not good for Anti-Paladins?
Okay, so I'm going to give a biased opinion here.
Oh, this is the
And this is
Biased
this is
Opinion podcast, and this is a safe place for you.
so this is my least favorite weapon in the game of Amtgard, and I hate javelins.
Okay.
I cannot stand javelins. I can't throw them. I don't like using them. If I can't hit you with an 8-foot pole arm, I don't want to hit you with a 3-foot javelin.
That's very fair. I can't say I've ever
Yeah.
been hit by a javelin in such a way that it was eligible to deal me damage. It.
Right, and I really this is just my opinion,
Mhm.
completely my opinion. Just javelins to me are pointless. They're the least accurate of any thrown weapon in our game, and they're more. I honest to goodness feel like they're more for the meme. I'm gonna get some hate
Yeah,
for this, but that's okay.
that's okay. I agree with you there. They don't work, and I don't know.
Yeah, and like people always talk about the little like 3-throw shield breaking thing that they do.
Hmm.
I've never seen anybody do it.
Well, if someone's trying to throw and then bounce it back, all you do is just kind of like, ah, and it'll fly
Yeah,
off in some other random direction, and they can't pull it off
yeah,
again.
yeah. And I really hope when someone watches this, they hear me like talk about this and goes out there and actually perfects how to do this, just so I can see them do it.
So that they can target you specifically. And
Oh, I would love it. I'm here for it. Target
okay,
me with the amazing bounce javelin.
that'd be great. Okay, so what does your default battle game kit look like? Let's say you're going on a generic battle game at a kingdom level. What are you bringing out for that?
So obviously I have my riveted steel chainmail hauberk.
Hmm.
I wish it was aluminum. It's super heavy, but I got what I got. I got it for a good deal, so I wear my chainmail. And then what I'll do is my chainmail covers up to about the top of my knee. So I will take and I'll put on a pair of gambeson pants, and then I have steel greaves that I wear over my calves.
Okay.
So that, and then of course my chainmail goes all the way down to my wrist. So that gives me my full 4 points all over. Um, and then I'll usually wear like a tabard over top of it, just because I'm really not a fan of how chainmail looks.
You gotta avoid the
But
chainmail nightgown look.
yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
And then as far as equipment goes, especially so with the new archetypes, it really changes it up because I've really tried to play all three of them. With if I'm running Infernal, I'll have a great sword and then my fireballs. If I'm running Corruptor will be flow or sword and board. And then
Okay.
if I'm running just standard AP, it's more than likely going to be a pole, and then I'm actually getting ready to acquire a shoulder strap shield
Mm,
to kind of maybe add into my fighting style with AP.
okay. That'd be kind of cool. Um, So if the you've talked about three different builds that you kind of go to, which one's your like standard first choice if you're going into a say like a random node capture game? How do you decide which one you're
It
going to run?
uh, it's kind of tough, really. I honestly, it's really down to maybe who I'm facing on the other side.
Okay.
So, like, if I see like a team get split apart, like I'll know, like, hey, I gotta fight these certain people this certain way or something.
Hmm.
Or if I have like certain teammates, I could be like, hey, I know how to fight with these certain people with this certain style of fighting. Like if I just want to run around and have fun, I'm gonna play Infernal. If I really want to do like hardcore skirmishing, I'm gonna go Corruptor because that gives me the Shadow Step and then
Right.
chargeable, and then Void Touch. Void Touch gives us the Shadow Step, the unlimited Steel Lives, and it makes the Terrors chargeable. So I'm a lot more able with Corruptor to be able to kind of disrupt the field a little more if I'm skirmishing. And then like if I'm just straight up just line fighting, just for the like I love line fighting. So if I'm just straight up line fighting, that's more than likely what I'm going to run. It's just standard AP.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna take my speed pole, and then I might bring out flow. I might bring out a board, but most likely I'm gonna have my speed pole.
Okay. So you're deciding as the like lines are drawn which one of these archetypes you're taking and then switching up on scene. You're not pre-planning these things out.
Right, and that's usually, and like I said, that's for just a random one-off game.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Cool.
pretty much, yeah.
All right. I feel like Paladin and Anti-Paladin, I feel like between the two, because Paladin and Anti-Paladin, they always get compared to each other because they sound the same, they rhyme, right? I feel like Anti-Paladin got a lot more out of the archetype update than Paladin did. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think Paladin with the Judiciar chain, or how do you Justicar, Justiciar, however you say it,
Yeah,
they
the
really got the
Justicar.
yeah, they really got the poop into that. The new Sacred Blades is okay with Paladin,
I feel like that's the only
but I
good
don't.
thing that they got, because Martyr just
Well,
seems not fun.
so to me, Sacred Blades, I don't think is worth losing your greater res and you're all over.
Mm,
I think you're losing a very important form of CC for yourself, and you're
mhm.
losing a very important frontline support for yourself as well. That greater res goes a long way for your frontline, especially if you have like APs and warriors and stuff that are just enchanted to the gills.
Mhm.
You throw out that one greater res you got, so you don't have to worry about your healer getting knocked out or something.
Right.
And then, so but I do think the Guardian archetype for Paladin is super strong. The imbue shield once per life is very strong with the amount of crushing breaking that is now on our fields.
Oh, for sure.
Um, as far as anti-paladin goes, I think, honest to goodness, I think it plays into the more specific types of people who play anti-paladin. So you have two types of anti-paladins usually. You have one that uses a great weapon, or you have the other that uses a sword and board or flow.
Hmm.
So I think when you take corruptor, you're still getting your armor breaking. You just won't have the shield crushing, but you're able to have more sustainability
Okay.
with your loadout because of the void touch. You're able to
Right.
step into the shadows. You can steal life your teammates, get those abilities back, and just kind of keep yourself constantly in the loop of like this shadow step, terror, kill some people, steal life, shadow step, terror, kill some people. Like that
Yeah.
nice little rotation. And then as far as Infernal goes, I love running up on someone with a shield and just being like fireball and then just wrecking them with a greatsword.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Breaking those shields with those fireballs. That's a great feeling as a wizard when you just blow up that fireball. I imagine it's very similar for Anti-Paladin.
yeah, and like so I'm not very good at throwing. So I'm going to be like 6 foot away from you when I throw this fireball at you.
Right.
And then on top of it, fireball got a buff. So instead of wounds kill, it's now when a player hit dies.
Yep.
So if you time it right and you use your greatsword and like let's say you crush someone's shield
Hmm.
and then you just happen to break their armor or their chest armor or something, and you have your fireball charge, you can just throw it and they die.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's such
So
a
like
strong spell. I love the fireballs. They're
yeah,
so something that I want to pick your brain about here. 3 out of our 4 melee classes are pro command. And so I think one of the legs up that Anti-Paladin has over Paladin is your crowd control is Death School. So there's only Paladins are immune to that, but everyone is immune to Paladin's awe almost. Is that something that you've seen as well?
Um, honest to goodness, with my style of play, and I feel like a lot of frontliners, we don't use from what I've seen, I feel like the front line doesn't use their CC on other front lines.
Oh, okay.
Um, what I try to do is I try to use my terrors to target the wizards, to target the healers, to target the bards, the people that are going to take me out of the fight. And I think it's the other way with awe as well. I think they use the awes to target like I said, the healers, the bards, the wizards, the people who are going to be keeping their front line up.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, in a melee fight, armor to armor, you just fight it out, and then what you don't want is that armor to keep coming back.
Right. Okay. That makes
So,
sense. Okay.
yeah, so I think I think the all terror thing you don't really see much on front lines unless you just have unless it's just frontline fighters, you don't really have any other casters around, at least for me.
I think that makes sense. I don't play a lot of frontline at competitive level because I'm bad at it. So
Yeah.
that's something that I just haven't got to experience on bigger fields or anything larger than random park day. So
Right. Yeah, yeah, I'm trying to get rid of the support because the supports are a problem. I know I can fight my way through whoever usually is in front of me.
okay.
So that's usually how I try to judge it on based off what ability I'm getting ready to use.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Okay. So what do you say the best ability that Anti-Paladin gets? What would that be for you?
Terror. I think terror is the best ability. Um, I think with the amount of weapons that just can have crushing breaking naturally,
Hmm.
it kind of devalues the flame blade a little bit. Um, terror is 50 foot away from me,
Hmm.
and 50 feet is a lot in our game.
That's a
That
lot
makes
of
a big
space.
difference. Yeah. So like, if you don't have someone there to release that person you just terrored, that person's kind of screwed for at least that 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Um, I think another big one is then this is something I use a lot. I think is steal life. So I'll catch myself a lot of times. I'll get like legged or I'll get armed or something,
Hmm.
and I'll see like a random teammate die, and I'll just reach back and steal life, and then get my arm back or get my leg back, and then or if I happen to use like a poison or something, and I don't have anything better to do, I'll run up and I'll just steal life and get a poison back just to kind of get like a quick wound skill on someone. Um, I have noticed though, like I catch myself steal life in my team more than the opponents, which I feel like makes sense in frontline fighting because you're really not getting close enough to your enemies to actually
Right.
like steal life them.
The only time you can
So
really steal life an enemy is when you've got them out of position and killed them.
right, and if they're out of position, more than likely you're out of position.
Yeah. Well, and so it's like you're harvesting those resources off of your team, and the healers always get mad at you for it, but you go for it anyway, right?
Right, yeah, yeah.
What do you think the worst ability that Anti-Paladin gets is?
Um, so this is my opinion, and it's just because it's not an ability I use a lot.
Hmm.
Is brutal strike.
Hmm.
A lot of people try to say, "Hey, use it, use it, use it," and I'm not one to use it. If I'm fighting, I'm not going to remember to point at you and say, "And stay down."
Right.
You know, and it's a good ability. It suppresses the person for 30 seconds. They're cursed. Um, and I think with barbarians not having fight after death anymore, I think it still I think it kind of devalues it a little bit more because that's something that you could do is you could like leg a barbarian and hey, and stay down. And now they can't go into, fight after death because they're suppressed.
Right. You can't.
And like,
The usefulness of it is less now that barbarians lose that fight after death.
yeah. And I mean, if you happen to get the chance to like hit like a wizard in the leg and like suppress them or something like that, it's usable then. But if you're a frontline fighter, the odds of that happening, I think, are kind of low.
Okay. Let's see. So, how do I defeat you if I'm a rival frontline fighter? What do I need to do to win that fight 1v1?
have two other people. No, honestly, I mean, it's all about shutting me down. If you can get me, like most of the time, blow for blow. Like I'm a good armored fighter.
Mhm.
Um, so I think if it's another good armored fighter, it's just a dogfight till somebody wins. Um, if you have the ability to maybe like shoo me away, like another AP could terror me or something,
Mhm.
and then I have to go find somebody to release me or whatever. I think honest to goodness is the easiest way. But if we do get into that dogfight, I'm going to make sure one of us is going to come out of it, battered,
Right.
and the other one's going to come out of it going back to base.
Okay. How vulnerable are anti-paladins to arrows?
I hate pinning arrows. I think they're super vulnerable. Pro projectile is honest to goodness probably one of my favorite enchantments.
Mm-hmm. Keeps your
Um,
mobility from getting smacked down with those pinning arrows so much.
oh yeah, and then like especially if you're at a Paragon level, archers know to target you. Like there's no doubt about it. If it's a good archer, they're targeting you. Whether it's a destruction arrow, whether it's a pinning arrow, or maybe even a phase arrow, just to get through your armor a little quicker or something. I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
or whatever enchantment you might have. But I think archers are an issue for sure, just as much as the wizard is.
Right. And then, yeah, obviously the casters are going to be problematic because you can't. They're standing
Yeah,
behind the enemy line. That's
yeah.
what this.
Anything sorcery is going to rock an AP.
Mm-hmm.
That's the good thing about Corruptor. You get the Void Touch, makes you unaffected by death, unaffected by sorcery. So you're able to kind of that's like where that sustainability comes from. It keeps you from being shut down with like the verbals and stuff. A little bit hard. It makes the wizards a little bit harder for them to get you. Um,
Yeah. So when you get that void touch, you're at that point pro command, death, flame, and sorcery. That's
like
oh, and spirit,
you're
I believe too.
so you're not pro sorcery. You're not pro death. You are unaffected by.
That's right. So they can still target you, but you don't end up taking
Right.
them.
So like a archer's arrow where it's like EX sorcery,
Gotcha.
it's still going to affect you.
Okay.
Whereas if you were specifically immune to sorcery, that's when it wouldn't affect you.
Okay. I was thinking at that from a caster standpoint, not an archer standpoint. So the
Yeah.
uh, is there because you almost have at that point
You're
a
basically immune to everything but subdual.
okay.
It is like you're unaffected by almost every verbal except subdual. And then obviously like dispel and sever spirit, I think.
Right.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, because I think I don't. I think you're not. You're still affected by spirit school, like normal. If I'm correct.
I've got it pulled
Because you
up
get.
over here. You become unaffected by magical abilities from sorcery, spirit, and death schools. So you almost have
Oh, okay.
like
Yeah.
discount enlightened soul at that point.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah. Pretty much. Yeah.
nothing really can hit you there. Because subdual only exists on spell balls. So unless you're clumsy with an ice ball or an entangle, you're pretty good there.
Yeah. And the good thing is, like, let's say you put that on yourself. If you get someone to give you attuned pro subdual,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could just rock out
At
until a
that point,
pinning
you're
arrow
just
hits you.
immune to magic until you can get
Yeah.
somebody to get in there. Okay.
Yeah, and something that's a really good combo, and I've played this combo and people hated it, is take your void touched and attune and imbue shield.
Oh my word. Yeah,
So
that would do it.
imagine having like a large shield that's imbued, so you're able to just absorb all these spell balls,
Mhm.
all these arrows, and then you get up on someone and you're just like, hey, what are you gonna do now?
They have to dispel you and then try to do stuff because you've got them at that
Right.
point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, that is quite the enchantment stack. I had not considered anti-paladin as the like ideal place to stack all these enchantments, but that seems really optimal now.
Yeah, but before the archetypes, I think the optimal would be like you because your Flameblade's EX.
Right.
That's just
So you
standard
just
AP.
have that.
Yeah, so if you get a wizard to void touch you,
Hmm.
well, so you start out you get a druid to give you golem. and then you get attuned and get void touched, and then you stack your flame blade on top of it, and all that stuff's persistent.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's a pretty nasty combo, and it's fun to run. So like,
I can
just
imagine at that point you fear nothing. And
yeah, and if you get good enough with terrors, if you hear your name, just point at the wizard trying to dispel you and send them away.
wow. Okay. Yeah, that's a big stack of enchantments there. How often are you able to pull that off? Actually, like on Kingdom Fields.
Honest to goodness, the only time you're going to be able to is Kingdom Fields, and like you kind of have to walk around because you wizards don't take enchantments.
Well, the
You know?
problem with the wizard enchantments is nobody ever wants them. Like
Yeah, well,
you've
if
got to
you-
ask for them. Like if you've come
Yeah.
ahead of time, like if someone walks up to me, I've had this happen several times. Drazul will come and ask me for Void Touch, and I am
yeah.
perfectly happy to drop my 2 Fingers of Death and a Spadoinkle just to get a persistent Void Touch out there on somebody because it's such a good enchantment to pass out.
Oh, it is. I think it's one of the best in the game. Absolutely.
Absolutely, it is.
Um,
And if you're
and
ever on
just
my
give
team,
it-
come ask me because I'm very likely to let you have it.
and then, so the thing is too, I think this is my opinion. I think it's the best enchantment to put on an AP.
Okay.
So like, because it gives you, like I said before, it gives you all the sustainability you need to just keep on rocking.
Yeah.
Uh,
That ties in really well to our next question. How can other classes best support you? Obviously, we know anyone who can give you Void Touched should give you Void Touched, but what are some other things that can support an Anti-Paladin?
So this comes from a play that I had made during Battle Cry. It was me and Waldo, and then my partner Cersei. Waldo and Cersei were playing healer, and I told Waldo, I said, "Your only job is to make sure I don't die and I have armor." So, and then I told Cersei, "Your only job is to make sure Waldo doesn't die." So, I did that. And then you know that little bridge at Battle Cry that's right there.
I haven't actually made it out to a Battle Cry yet. I'm planning to go this year.
So there's a little bridge, right? And we were on the far side, is what I'm going to call it. So there's like camp, and then there's the middle of the field, or like there's the start of the field, and then the far side of the field. So we're on the far side of the field. I come through, and then Waldo's right behind me, Cersei's right behind him. I come across the bridge, and there's like 6 or 7 people on the other side of this bridge. And then I would say within maybe 2 to 3 minutes, there was nobody else left on that side of the bridge.
Oh wow!
So it was basically, so it was me. I had my pole, so I'm using my pole over top of like the bridge rails and stuff. And it was a couple monks, and then there might have been a warrior, and maybe a healer, and then maybe a wizard. So I knew I had to get through the monks because the monks were trying to shoot their poles onto the bridge. I was able to get the monks, and then I came across. I stopped at the end of the bridge. I'm fighting the warrior. Waldo's mending me. I get through the warrior. The monks get revived by the healer. So I then take out the healer, and then I take out the 2 monks. And then I think Cersei or Waldo dealt with the little random wizard that happened to be running around. But it was fun. It was a super cool moment.
A great time right there.
So I think that's a really good example of like the just solid single healer support. And then me and Dart have run that same thing. I'm like, hey Dart, just keep me up, and we'll just fight our way through this. And I think a pocket healer, honest to goodness, is your best support.
Okay. How do you decide where you're going on a battlefield? Can you share some of your tactics and some of your strategies and how you pick who you're going to target?
If I'm just kind of playing like, and I'm just kind of wandering the field, I'm gonna find the biggest group of people and see how many I can take out.
Okay.
If I'm looking to line fight, I'm gonna find a group of people that I know I can fight next to well. Or I'll go find, like, if I see like a warrior or something that's like I know it's a new player, I'll try to get behind them and be like, hey, stay right here. I'm gonna use this pole, just block these people for me, and we'll do a little bit of like line fighting stuff. And then like and another thing too I like to do is I'll try to see, like, if I see like a wizard, it's just kind of hanging back, just kind of chilling, like kind of lost in the sauce kind of. I'll go get the wizard, or it could be a healer. I'll go get the healer, and I'll be like, hey, come with me real quick. We're gonna try a couple things just so like you can get used to this kingdom feel, while having someone that can kind of help you stay sustained in the fight. So like I'll go up and I'll start fighting, and I'll be like, hey, try to do this while I do this or something, and it'll work out or it won't. So
Really,
either way, that
yeah,
yeah, and it gives that inexperienced player more experience. I feel like
it gives them a chance
especially
to do something cool too.
yeah, and I think this is probably a later question, but I think that's a good way to try to get more people out there to inspire them to get their paragons as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was a great time to ask. What's some advice you would give someone who's trying to start out towards being a Paragon Anti-Paladin?
Honest to goodness, I think it was Sir Raven the Swift that said this to me one time. Play every game like it's a championship. Because if you don't play at the caliber you want to win, you'll never win.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a solid piece of advice. And then a second thing is burnout in our game is super easy. Like if you play something for so long, you're like, oh man, I want this award, blah 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 blah. Try to find what keeps it fun for you.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to get better over time. That's just how it is. You got to put in the time. You got to put in the work. But you need to take time to try other things as well. Play AP. If someone wants to play AP, play it for 6 months and then play another class for a month, just so you don't get that burnout. Like that's something I went through.
Mm-hmm.
I had played it for like 2 or 3 years straight, and I was like, man, I'm just so tired of playing it. Like. And then the funny thing is, I stopped playing it for like a whole year. Like the first time I had a first place in a Bridge Wars, I was playing Paladin. I wasn't even playing AP.
Huh.
And then like I was playing Wizard, I was playing Bard, and all this like little 1 year gap. And then the next thing I know, I have my Paragon. And then it actually inspired me to play the class even more at that point, because then I knew like, hey, like I have this trim now. Like people are going to see me and be like, hey, how can I like, what can I do better and all this stuff. And like one of my favorite things is being able to teach people how to raise themselves higher.
Absolutely.
And that's
so what is a Paragon to you? How do you define that? What makes you look at somebody and say that's a Paragon versus they're not there yet?
I think this is a tough one, and everybody's going to have a different answer for this. To me, a Paragon is someone who not only can excel in playing their class, but they can also excel in explaining their class. Okay. So, like, and then I think that the new archetypes kind of changed this up a little bit. So, like, let's say I played Infernal, only Infernal.
Mm-hmm.
If a person was really good at Infernal, I think you could say, hey, that guy plays at a Paragon level, and then he can only explain how to play Infernal. I feel like it kind of hinders it a little bit. So like, if you could play Infernal and then be able to explain just mildly how like Corruptor works and how to play standard AP, I think a sufficient Paragon to me.
Okay. What are some traits you look for in a potential Paragon?
Very similar as the last question. Mm-hmm. Do they excel in playing it, and do they excel in explaining it? I think that's a good little slogan for that. If I happen to have if I have questions for someone, and like I want to see how they're going to assess certain situations. Like if you hey, let's say you're playing AP, you have 2 warriors on your team that have tower shields, and you have 4 or 5 people that you're fighting. Like, what would you do in that situation to help your team come out on top? And then they could say, like, oh, I'm going to stand behind my warriors. I'm going to throw on my flame blade and then try to tear whoever I need to and then clear them out like that. I think that would be a good example of, like, just a small version of, like, what a Paragon could be.
Yeah. Figuring out their game plan and being able to explain why and how they were doing what they were doing.
Yeah, and I think this is something too that could help you with your battle ladder is instead of immediately engaging,
Hmm.
take your time to find who you're playing with, assess the situation, and then begin the fight once you come up with that like quick assessment.
All right.
So like those two warriors be like, "Hey guys, I'm right behind you. Just stand still, let me poke. If they get close, swing." Just simple little things like that go a long way.
Okay. So something that Paragons have the right to do is they are able to take apprentices in their class. Is that something you've done historically, or something you're interested in doing in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually have two apprentices right now.
Oh yeah, do you want to name
I
drop them?
think one of maybe. Well, one of them's Scarred, one of them's Vin. I'm gonna do it anyways. Yeah, Vin's been recently wanting to play AP, and then Scarred's been kind of playing AP for a while now. Everybody knows Vin. I don't know how many people know Scarred, but Scarred comes from the Mire, and he comes to Kingdom events pretty fairly often.
Okay.
Um, I'm excited to watch them grow. Absolutely.
How do you go about finding apprentices? Is that something that you go out and seek, or are you letting people come to you?
Either one. Either one. If I see, so I am constantly watching the Anti-Paladins. Anytime like in the circle of Paragons, it's like a hey, what'd you see? I'll have like a whole list of APs that I saw, and like, hey, they did this, they did this, they did this. This is where I think they are. And then like during the fights and stuff, like after a fight's over, I'll try to find them and be like, hey, how'd you feel about this? How'd you feel about that? So I'm constantly trying to engage with the AP community to help the whole community grow as a whole. And I think that's something I actually just try to do in Amtgard in general. So that's something I kind of take pride in.
Fantastic. So we're coming down to the end here. A lot of times people can find it intimidating to go and try to talk to people at events and get better in their class, because there's people are always hanging out with their friends, or they're busy doing stuff. Is it okay for people to come and talk to you at events and even at local park about Anti-Paladin, or just in general?
Oh, absolutely. I am a social butterfly.
Mm-hmm.
I am so happy to spread my wings to anybody that wants to see them. I can talk about all aspects of the game. I've been in leadership. I've done some crafty things. I've done crown work. I've done obviously battle. I know how to fight. So like I'm always willing to talk to anybody at any point. I think, and I really pride myself on being like that friendly face that people can come to. And like I think sometimes you run into some people that you just don't get that with. And like
Yeah.
I want to make sure people know. I want to make sure at the end of the day, people know they're included. Like no matter who you are or what you do, like we're here for you, and then I'm gonna help you find what you need, whether I have to go find it for you or I can explain it to you.
That's yeah. It's an amazing feeling that even though we're all just nerds hitting each other with sticks, we can build that community together. So
Yeah, absolutely. And it takes that friendly spirit to try to help grow that even more into just this big blooming flower.
mhm. And the more people we have, the better battle games we can have too. So
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. If there's more people in front of me, that's the more people I get to kill with AP.
absolutely. Okay, do you have any final advice or recommendations before I let you go?
Nothing that I haven't said. Honest to goodness,
All right.
if you want to get better, fight every game like it's the championship.
Okay.
Because if you
'Cause it
just play
is.
around, yeah, if you just play around and then you start getting sloppy with like your abilities and stuff, you're going to decline.
Sure.
So
Okay.
I think that's the best advice I can give to someone trying to be a Paragon AP
All
or
right.
just anybody in general.
Well, thank you to Nameless Soulweaver for coming on the show tonight. If you've made it all the way to the end of this video, please subscribe for more battle gaming content. If you have any questions for Nameless, please leave them down in the comments. And we'll see you in the next video.
Yeah, it was good to talk to you, buddy. Y'all have fun. Have a good night.